Human trafficking can look completely different when you look across the globe. Even in America, there's been more than 25 types of human trafficking that have been identified. The two major types are going to be labor and people are using force, fraud, and coercion to induce people to work for them and take their money from them, or they're forcing people into worker prostitution and taking all their money from them. So we know that anyone that is under the age of 18, whether there is force, fraud, or coercion present, that person is being trafficked.
This is a story of manipulation and false promises. This is my story.
Mommy, what y'all doing?
Packing. We're going on a little trip.
But why? I don't want to go.
Trisha, don't ask me no questions. Do what I say. I mean, I don't care what you want. We're leaving.
But what about Daddy?
You know, I come.
I was 13 and I actually thought that I was going on a summer vacation because that's what my mom told me. It was a culture shock. When I left Canada, when I was in Canada, I was playing with Barbie dolls. I had a collection of like Cabbage Patch Kids and just all the kiddie things I was doing. And when I moved to Texas, when they say that, you know, things are bigger, everything's bigger in Texas is the phrase. And that's so true because the expectations were bigger as well. I was expected to dress a certain way, look a certain way, be popular, have certain friends. So it was a lot. It was a culture shock for me.
I cannot even believe that she tried to like test me.
She did.
I know she did.
She did.
Okay, wait a minute. What's your name? Trisha. What's up? Okay, Trisha. Where you from? I'm Jamaican, but I just moved here from Canada. Wait, they got Jamaicans in Canada? Yeah, girl, they got Jamaicans in Canada. They got Africans in Canada, black people from all over the world, just like here in America. Oh, Bobby, you play too much. Gosh.
What is this?
This is Trisha.
Oh, hey, Trisha.
Hey.
My relationship with him started off bad. He wasn't in school at the time. I was. My mother was very much against the relationship. I didn't listen. So I had a lot of red flags and a lot of things telling me that it was just a bad idea.
The transition for a young lady, especially coming from a small city to a big city, is big city bright lights. And all of a sudden they fall into the lure of what seems exciting to them. And once you get to the big city, you're excited to be here.
What's wrong?
Nothing. Can we just slow it down?
I thought you liked me.
I do. I'm just not ready.
I thought you wanted to be my girlfriend.
You know I do.
So stop fronting. Acting like a little girl. Thought you was a woman.
And with him, you know, he was very volatile. He was very controlling, super controlling, and very abusive as well.
No, I don't care what your mother thinks.
You know, she thinks me not ready to have this baby.
Well, she ain't raising the baby. We are.
You know, she wants me to move back home with her. Maybe it's for the best. You know, she can help with the baby.
It was just a toxic relationship, a toxic environment altogether. I wouldn't even call it a relationship. It was just bad.
See, now you testing me. You ain't going nowhere until I say you are.
It's hurting me.
And if you keep it up, it's gonna get worse.
When we think about domestic abuse, we think about it being physical. What we don't think about is the emotional side. There are ways for a man to control a woman without ever putting his hand on her. So he can get her to do certain things because she doesn't want him to be upset. So she does everything he needs to avoid him getting upset. At the same time, he uses those emotions to keep control over her.
When my mom first found out that I was pregnant, she was very disappointed. She was hurt. And, you know, she had invested so much to make sure that I got a good education and, you know, that I had what I needed to successfully graduate from high school. And she was hurt. She just never saw it coming. She didn't see it coming. She wanted more for me. So I can say she was disappointed. But after I had my baby, she stepped up like any grandmother would. And she said, okay, you have this child, but you still have your life. And so she supported me with my child. I was introduced to him through a mutual friend, and it was very innocent. He actually was in town in the same city for a national talent show. So everyone that aspired to be anything in entertainment or music was at this talent show.
Hey.
Hey, babe.
What's up, kitty? Whoa. Hey. Who is?
It's the girl I was telling you about.
You ain't tell me she was that fine. You sing?
No, I can't hold a tune. But I'm very well organized and I'm good with numbers.
Yeah, we might need somebody on our team good with numbers. Yeah. How would you like to be a part of the next Bad Boy record label?
I would love to.
Yeah. All right, cool. Why don't y'all just chill with me for a minute, you know, catch a vibe?
It was fun. It was cool. You know, the first time that we hung out with him, and it was almost like we immediately clicked.
We was thinking about going to Dallas. You down to come?
Dallas, I'm down.
I bet you are. Cool. Why don't you have a chill for a minute there, and we'll chop it up.
What he did was create he was very successful at creating a divide between myself and my support system, including my mother. So by the time he came up with this master plan to leave with him, I was already out of my mother's house. He planted seeds that, you know, made me dislike her. I was arguing with her. I was being very disrespectful, and I left.
Mommy, it's a great opportunity.
It's what you have to leave the States for. You can't find a job here?
You know I've been trying.
Nah, I'm not like it. And who for watch your child?
You're her grandma.
You need to take care of your responsibility. When I have this child, you did.
Why you always giving me a hard time? Ain't no kid no more.
And don't act like it.
Hey, you know I'm good. You know I'm good for it. What are you talking about? Come on, man. All right, man. Listen, hey, all right. I'm gonna call you back, all right? We'll chop it up later. Nah, man, we need money. We gotta pay for producers, studio time, and it's hard running a record label.
Yes, I know, baby. But don't worry, because you know I got your back. Anything you need, you know I got you. Okay?
Okay, when you say you got my back, what you mean by that?
Whatever you need, you know I'm down. Okay?
I fell in love with him very quickly, or what I thought was love, because he was so charming. He had the gift of gab, and he was talented. He was just very charming. He was very careful with his words. He never said, I love you, but he accepted those words from myself. He used words like we, our, it's just us. And so it made me think that he felt the same way. I thought that he cared for me as much as I cared for him.
Listen, baby, I need you to make this money for us, all right? Okay, we already here. You already said what you was gonna do. So I need you to do it. You got anything better? Yeah, like I thought. I need you to get to it, because we got business to take care of. Sexy, okay? Good like you looking. Now handle up. Let's get to it.
As soon as I got to the room that night, he had another girl there, and she picked out some clothes, some lingerie out of a bag. Literally, I remember it was a suitcase, and she picked out this outfit and said, put it on, and they started taking pictures.
Come on, baby, look at this. Come on.
Still a bit more skin.
Hey, shut the hell up.
I think I was thinking, oh, he just wants pictures of me because, for him, I didn't know what I was thinking at the time, but it was very belittling. I felt small. I felt shamed. And, while he was laughing and, while I was trying on outfits and just snapping pictures, it was just like, why? I couldn't understand. I couldn't wrap my head around what was really happening. I just know that I felt ashamed.
What's up with Benny? Where is he?
Well, he said he on his way.
I still haven't been paid for 3 sessions.
Well, you know he good for it. And once his label get off the ground...
Hey, I'm tired of hearing the same old story. Everybody and their mama got a record label.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'll tell you what. How about you take care of your brother for his troubles?
Oh, what?
Stop fronting. I've heard stories about you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
I remember being strangled and having to reach for like a glass bottle to protect myself. I was so far removed from reality. I was so far removed from who I remembered as Kathy. I was far removed from the little church girl that grew up in a Jamaican household. I was far removed from, I couldn't understand what was happening to me. So for me, it was like, it was surreal. I was like having an outer body experience.
Well, this is it.
This is what?
End of the road. This is where you show me what you made of.
What?
Yeah. I need you to step out and handle your business, all right? You need to do that for me. Crazy. We need this money, all right?
You're crazy.
Man, get out this car and do what I asked you now. Get out. What's wrong with you? I'll be back in the morning.
We're gonna die out here.
You ain't gonna die. Just get out. I'll come back in the morning. I'll pick you up. Just make sure you got what I need.
He put me out on the street, dropped me off in the middle of the night, and I was given some instructions to walk and make money. And I remember thinking, like, I'm about to die. This is it. This is where my life ends, out here in the middle of nowhere, far away from my family, far away from my support system. I'm by myself. I felt filthy. And in some strange way, I felt like I belonged there. It was too filthy to be rescued or saved or seen. I just knew that I was going to die.
Street prostitution it happens in most every major city across America. One of the most infamous cities is obviously Las Vegas, but Chicago, Dallas, New York, San Francisco. I mean, most big cities have a track, is what we call it, or a known area of prostitution. Sometimes we call it the Blade. And that type of area of town, like once you get dropped off, you know exactly what you're there for. There's often girls out walking in bikinis or lingerie. There's customers driving by. They stop and talk to you, and obviously you solicit. And if you make an agreement, sometimes it takes place right in the car on the track. Sometimes you go down the street to a seedy motel where you can rent a room by the hour. But you're forced into prostitution all night. And the thing about prostitution is customers don't care whether you're trafficked or not. Customers don't ask you, are you being trafficked, right? All they see is a product that they want to buy, and then they want to discard it.
What is this? $600?
That's right.
What do you mean you tried? This ain't enough.
I did the best I could do.
What you mean you did the best? You better do better next time.
When he said that we were going to Dallas to meet some investors, I thought he was telling the truth. Again, investors. Hindsight, I know that those investors were just tricks, clients, Johns, whatever you want to call them, men that were just set up to exploit me. Dallas quickly became a place that I feared.
There's always some dream that is sold to a victim. It's never that you're going to have to do this every day for the rest of your life, because otherwise victims would run a lot sooner. So they're always running some kind of game. They're always, there's some pie in the sky, some future vision that they're selling, and they talk and coerce their victims into doing what they want them to do now.
I was unfamiliar with my surroundings. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone to call. I didn't know highways. I didn't know streets. It was just like I was in this foreign place, and I got here because I trusted the individual that brought me.
Me alone and get out.
Trish, what the hell wrong with you?
Get out.
What?
Go.
Man, listen, I'm gonna take you to your family. You're gonna go hang out with them for a minute, but when you get back,
I don't want to talk to you.
Listen, when you get back, I'm gonna need you to work on yourself, because we got to get back to this money.
He was exhausted, and he was just like, look, I'm not dealing with this. So he allowed me to call someone in my phone, a family member, my brother actually, to come and pick me up. If he said, go home to your family and come back tomorrow, I would have done it. But I think he underestimated the power of my support system.
So good to have you back.
It's so good to be back, Mommy.
Did it hurt you?
No, I'm fine.
I seem right.
I'm all right, Mommy. Fine.
Did it hurt you?
Mommy.
He had promised that, all of the bad things that I witnessed when I was out there, or witnessed him do while I was out there, that it was only a show, that he was just doing that to intimidate the other girls, or he was doing that because, he had to keep up a certain image, but he would never truly do anything to harm me.
Hey, man, come on. I ain't got all day.
Trisha, I'll go with him.
Mommy, please stop.
Please good. Trisha,
Mommy.
I don't want to see him hurt you. Please.
Stop.
Trish.
Please, Trisha.
Man, come on. Where you at?
Good. Well, and well.
Okay, Mommy.
He left, and I saw an image. I can't even say I saw myself. It still pains me to say that I saw myself, but I saw an image of a girl that I once knew, and it wasn't me. It was scary.
Getting out of the life is one of the hardest things I ever had to do. People don't understand that lifestyle, whether you're there by force or circumstance, again, it doesn't matter, because the amount of violence you face on a daily basis, you honestly get used to living in chaos. You almost get addicted to the adrenaline of running in and out of hotel rooms, trying not to get caught by security or the police, fighting with customers, fighting with other girls on the street. And so once you get out, physical freedom doesn't equal emotional or mental freedom. And so many times, and there's many of my survivor sisters that get out and they can never get their life back on track.
The pen and paper, that was my therapist. Because I didn't know how to look someone in the eyes and tell them what happened without feeling judged and ashamed and blamed. I just didn't know how to do that. So for me, my process was writing. And then finally, I started sharing one-on-one what had happened with individuals that sounded like they had similar stories. And then when I did that, I realized, oh my gosh, like, I'm not the only one with this kind of background. And there's a name to this thing called trafficking. To understand that, wow, I actually survived. And not only did I survive, but possibly I survived to help someone else. And I think that's what kept me going, and that was my healing journey. And along the way, years later, I was able to get some therapy and counseling and stuff like that. But honestly, it was just sharing that helped me.
Traffickers, there's no one type of trafficker. No age, race, ethnicity, gender defines what a trafficker can look like. And we've seen multiple women traffickers. I mean, obviously there's a lot of big cases in the media recently that we see there's women recruiters that, they're funneling in other young girls, selling them a dream of a rich and famous type lifestyle, and only to turn around and get exploited. And what we know is most often those female recruiters were actually victims in the first place, and they were victimized themselves, and that behavior has become normalized. They never got out, they never healed, and now they're turning around and doing it to other people. But I mean, there's a lot of famous madams and pimps. There's madams that own brothels, and it's crazy to think, like, knowing as a woman, knowing exactly what they're going through and knowing exactly what it would feel like, but still not caring and choosing to look at profit and other motivations over human beings' lives.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my.
I grew up in a big Greek family. We were extremely close-knit. Every single Sunday had Sunday dinners together and spent a lot of time together. And so they were like really my entire support system growing up. They were my everything. At 10 years old, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So we walked through that. It was a lot of quiet nights, the entire family coming together to try and support each other and walk through it. After my mom recovered, my aunt was then diagnosed with cancer.
Hey, Mom. What's wrong? It's your Aunt Emma. I didn't want to say anything, but the chemo hasn't been working.
And so as we were mourning that, then my yaya, which was my grandmother, who's the matriarch of the family, she was then diagnosed with cancer, and she also didn't make it. So our family dynamic within that 5-year span of time completely shifted and went from very, very close-knit, very supportive and helping and healthy to depreciating and to just mourning. And I didn't respond very well to that. I fell into like a severe depression and had a really hard time with dealing with her loss. After she had passed away, I just wanted to escape. I didn't want to feel all of the emotions that I was feeling. And I was sat in one of my math classes, and a friend had said to me, I have this pill and I'll give it to you, and that will take away all of those worries that you have. You'll be able to sleep at night and you'll feel better and you'll be able to just escape from all of those emotions. And so after school that day, she took me to her house and I took the pills with her, and she was right. It made me feel nothing and it made me feel something all at the same time. And immediately in that moment, I was addicted to drugs and I started taking the pills every single day, and it got me hanging out with the wrong crowds of people. And her uncle ended up molesting me when I was high. And then shortly after that, I was at a party and I was also intoxicated and my brain at the time could not understand that that was not my fault. I thought that because I was high, because I was hanging out with the wrong people, that it was my fault that I was molested and it was my fault that I was. And so it just skyrocketed my addiction even more.
Hold on. You want to make some real money? Get drugs whenever you want? So my boss is always looking for cute girls like you. Help with the transport.
Transport?
Yeah, work from state to state. Ain't nobody gonna check a sweet young thing like you. You can make stacks for your troubles.
What I gotta do?
Alright. You get the drugs from the spot.
Fuck with my money.
Take the Greyhound bus. Always ride near the front, like close to the driver, just in case you need to get off in a hurry.
First, we gotta test the product, Mamacita. Try that shit.
Oh, whoa, damn. This shit good. Now your turn.
And he would give me as much drugs as I wanted. And so I just like immediately was loyal to him. And so I started running drugs from New York to Connecticut to Maine, and was running heroin and crack for him. And that skyrocketed my addiction to intravenous heroin use and crack cocaine. And so I was with him for about a year and a half, and it was just a continuous cycle of driving and doing drugs and running for him. So when I was with him, I had to do whatever he wanted me to do. He was in authority over me and owned me, and most of the time I was completely blacked out. So I would wake up and I would just be able to feel in my body that I had been abused, and I didn't know what had happened to me because I was so high and I was blacked out. And so a lot of other issues, I had to do whatever he told me, in the sense of if I had to have this person, if I had to do this. And I obviously wasn't compensated for any of that besides in the form of drugs. In order to get away from my first trafficker, I had convinced him that if I went to rehab and if I got clean, that we could make more money. And so I went to Florida to go to a rehab. I spent about 2 weeks there and detoxed successfully. And then I just started getting the thoughts in my head, I can do this. I know I don't want to use, I don't have to be here. And so I left against medical advice, and I found myself homeless in Florida, a place I had never been before. And I had been homeless multiple other times, but it was in my hood. And right then I was like, I have no idea where to go, what streets to go down, what I can't do. So I called one of the girls and I just said, hey, please don't hang up on me. I just need a place to stay for tonight, and then I'll be out of your hair. I'll make some money and then I'll be gone. And she was like, okay, well, what do you look like? Oh, well, what's your Instagram? What's your Facebook? Send me a picture with 2 fingers. Send me a picture of you touching your nose. And I was very green at the time, very inexperienced. And so I sent her all of those things. And so she sent me an Uber. I got in the Uber and I pulled up, and out pops out this gorgeous woman in red bottom heels, Gucci from head to toe. And she comes up to me and she was like, "You are so beautiful. Oh my gosh, you could make so much money." And at the time, my self-worth was at 0. So I'm like, why is this beautiful woman telling me that I'm beautiful?
Wow, I'm in awe just to be in your presence, girl. You see this? Shit, my man can do the same just for you too.
And she said that he was handsome and that he was kind and he was sweet and that he never hit his girls and that he loved us and that he let us keep all of our money, and that she just talked about him like he was like a god.
You know we live in a mansion, right? He can make sure that you're gonna make a lot of money, for sure. You wanna meet him?
And I was like, yeah, I absolutely want to meet him.
You know we got the power, right? That cute thing in between your legs? See, it's the great equalizer. It'll have men weak and on their knees, literally. So you have to use it.
And I walked in and he was everything that she said.
Donna, I want you to meet the one and only Goldie.
You know, he was handsome, he was charismatic. He told me that what the people had previously done to me, like me and beat me, that was wrong and that was horrible and that he would never treat me like that. He told me that he would keep me sober.
You can have a house like this for you and your family. I want you to be a boss. Have a business. Invest. Live your best life.
And he told me that he loved me, and I believed him. And so for 3 days, I stayed with him at the house, and he just loved on me and showered me in gifts and just told me how much he loved me and how many opportunities and things that we would do together in this life that we would cultivate. And at the time, I remember feeling like I had been picked up and dropped off in heaven. Like I was like, this is it. This is my opportunity. Like, I'm not going to have to live this life that I've previously lived. Like, I'm going to be able to get out.
You're going on a little trip with the rest of the wifeys. Chanel, she going to show you the ropes. Get you right. Buy you some new clothes. All right?
So where are we going? A trip? We go to different states, stack bread, and come back. It's easy money. They got ballers out there that'll spend heavy. Remember what I told you. You got the gold key, and they want it.
The first day, the first act, I can speak from personal experience. You know, I should have been a sophomore in high school and picking out a mum for homecoming. And here I was on a track in an area of town that I had never been in before. And it's typically tracks are in very unsafe areas. And so it's not like you can just get out of the car and run and go find help. And so you stay, and, you know, compliance and obedience isn't choice though. And after that first time, I mean, it wrecks you. You know, we're talking about kids and women that have already been used and exploited by other people, maybe not for profit, but you get the message that your only worth is your body and that people are going to take whatever they want from you. And so honestly, you just get this hard exterior that it doesn't matter. And, you know, for me, I just did what they told me. And I was terrified that if I ran, that I would get killed. And, you know, after the first time though, you know, the amount of shame that immediately just jumps on you. You know, you feel like you'll never be normal again. I remember thinking, like, how could I ever even look at myself in the mirror? How could I tell anybody what's happening to me? How would they understand? And it becomes so isolating. That shame becomes isolating, and it makes you only feel like you can relate to other people that are in the life, which over time just normalizes it. And everyone that is in your circle, they're all going through the same thing. And so you don't think about how you used to live anymore, because honestly, that person is dead. You know, now you're just this object that other people are willing to pay for.
So in our stables, like, so in our household, there was 30 of us. There was 30 women and one him. And the dynamic was that we all had a relationship with him. And so all of our loyalties lied to him, and we had our own bond, our own connection, and we were all family. And so it was like my wifeys, I cut for them just as much as I cut for him. But at the end of the day, my loyalty lied to him. And so we weren't allowed to talk about our relationships with him, with each other. And yeah, we all just lived together in the same house. We all trapped together. We did everything together. We were a family.
With pimp-controlled trafficking in America, there's a hierarchical structure. And what that means is the victims that have been around the longest have the most seniority and have built up a little bit more trust with the trafficker. Oftentimes, the trafficker will have them go pay bills or take on more responsibility type tasks within the family unit. And oftentimes, different traffickers operate their stables, right? Their families, whatever word they want to use, it's the same thing. They operate their victims in different ways, though. Sometimes they make them compete against each other. So the women that are being trafficked by the same man are actually called wife-in-laws, is what we call them, or wifeys. And so that means that you have the same pimp or same trafficker. And so my wife-in-laws, oftentimes traffickers will have your wife-in-laws fighting with each other. You're competing to make more money, which if you give him more money, then maybe he's going to take you out to eat. Maybe he's going to spend the night with you. So you're vying for his attention and his love that he gave you right away up front, easy, but now he takes it away in order to make you want to earn it back. And so oftentimes, other times, traffickers will, like for me, my wife-in-laws, they'd already been there 10 years by the time I got there. And they were my sisters. He was like, no, you're not going to be competitive. You're going to be sisters with each other. You're going to respect each other and you're going to get along. And we were forced to like overnight become sisters, which was weird in a way, but honestly, they were my sisters. Like when he beat me bloody, you know, and I'm laying on the ground because he just knocked me out, like that my sister is the one over me with a bag of frozen peas on my eyes. She's the one looking out for me saying, hey, if you know, and I hope you can hear the victim blaming in this, because she's the one saying, if you just didn't say it this way, then he wouldn't have hit you, right? But we would honestly look out for each other and try to avoid beatings. And so that dynamic, honestly, at the end of the day, oftentimes it's not only the trauma bonds between the trafficker and the victim. I was more trauma bonded to my sisters. And it was harder when I thought about running, it was harder for me to leave my sisters because I knew what they were going to go through without me around.
My trafficker was pretty much a Romeo trafficker in the very beginning. He was sweet and he was nice, and he continued the grooming process to an extent for about a year. And so my trafficker had not abused me or hit me or anything until I had already been with him a year. I already had his tattoo on me. And at that time, he had gotten mad at me for something very small and beat me in front of everybody for being out of pocket in that instance. He really didn't need to use the force. He just used it because he was a twisted individual. The tricks were more brutal than my trafficker. I had been beat more times by tricks than I had been beat by my trafficker.
Feel like I ain't ready to let you go just yet. Why don't you come over and take care of daddy? You know what I mean?
So you know it's gonna be extra, right, baby?
What? No. You didn't tell me that before.
Well, you didn't ask before, baby.
They all aren't as bad as him. And he's gonna get what's coming to him. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go home. Where's home, baby? Home is here with us. Tomorrow will be better. I promise.
We had gone out to the club. It was one of my wife-in-law's birthdays. And so we had gone out, we had been partying all night. And we came back to the house and we were just all hanging out, vibing. And one of my wife-in-laws needed to grab something out of the car. So she walked outside and a couple minutes had gone by. She comes back in and 3 masked men had her at gunpoint. And they were yelling, "Where is he? Tell us where he is. Where is he?" And her loyalty kicked in and she knew, like, I don't know where he is. I don't know who you're talking about. There's no man here. It's just bitches here, just girls here. And then she tried to make an escape and like went to go run and they shot her in our living room.
Did you know the assailants?
No.
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 The police came and they looked around and they were like, wait, this is off. There's 30 women here of all different ethnicities, shapes, and sizes. One man, and they all do hair and makeup, and they all don't, like, they all live here. And so it was like, there was just a lot of things that they had seen that were off and odd, but we all knew how to talk to police officers. We all had been trained. He let us know, like, what to tell them, how to tell it to them, and everything like that. So they had an inkling that something was wrong, but they didn't have any evidence and they couldn't open a case because of it.
The relationship between victims and law enforcement is horrible. It's like Tom and Jerry. I mean, we're enemies, and I mean, we're taught to, you know, don't say nothing. They won't know nothing, and unfortunately, that's too often the case. That, you know, victims keep their mouth shut, and pimps don't get any time, and so you know that he's just going to get out and he's going to kill you or beat you up again. And so you keep your mouth shut, and you're taught that you might spend a night in jail, but that's all you're going to get.
So 6 months after that had happened and the case had opened against my trafficker, me, my trafficker, and 5 other wife-in-laws were arrested and charged with human trafficking. So when I got arrested, I was put into segregation. So I was completely alone, locked in a cell. All I had was my own thoughts. I didn't have him to combat what I was thinking. And so I just remembered thinking, oh wait, he did this and that was wrong. Oh wait, he said this and he never did that. And all of these things were coming to my mind of like, wait, he's actually a horrible person. And I couldn't self-identify at that point that I had been trafficked, but I knew that something was really wrong. And I knew that I didn't want to keep living that life.
Can you help me? I don't want to do this anymore.
And so I had reached out to the lawyer that was assigned to me, and I basically just cried to him and begged him to send me somewhere that would teach me how to be a human. And he was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to find you somewhere, but I'll try. And so 2 weeks later, he reached back out to me and he was like, I found you somewhere that will take you. It's a safe house, and you'll be released on an ankle monitor and you can head there. And so that's how I got rescued. So I'd like to say that when I got to the facility, it was just rainbows and butterflies, and it was amazing because I had been rescued and everything was perfect, but there was so much ingrained trauma inside of me that when I got there, I was scared and I didn't like humans because all I knew was that they were going to hurt me It took a really long time and a lot of intensive therapy and sessions together to be able to heal from that. And so I was in about like 6 months of living there every day, waking up morning to night and doing different group therapies, safe people boundaries and everything like that. Just learning how to be a functioning adult emotionally and psychologically. And so it was a long, hard journey, but it was definitely worth it. And now I'm like trugging on the other side.
My childhood, actually up until the age of 6, was blissful. I remember we stayed on Union Street in Springfield, Massachusetts, and my father, who I was very, very close with, we went fishing. We were at Riverside Park, which used to do the race cars. Every weekend we went to wrestling. I mean, like, I just remember we always were doing something and outside. And then abruptly, when I was about 6, we actually moved from our family home to the suburbs. We were kind of moving on up, felt like the Jeffersons almost. And so we went over there. This is now a neighborhood where I'm probably 1 or 2 Black children are in the neighborhood, but it's real nice, huge backyard. But that's also when there was a shift in my childhood. Once we moved to that community, soon after that, my world would implode.
One of those 25 types is familial trafficking. And familial trafficking is most often what it looks like in America is mom or dad selling a young child or young kid. Usually they're trading drugs for services with another individual with their own child.
Ashley, hurry up. You're going to be late, honey. Ashley.
Coming, Mom. Where's Dad?
He had to go to work early. Have a good day, baby.
I excelled in school. I actually love school. I loved the socialization, and it also was an escape for me too. So I really excelled in school. I wrote a book called Sophia, I'm Back, and the chapter about my mother was called Mother, Mother, Where Art Thou? And the first page was blank, because that's the memories I have of my mom, none, until I was about 9 or 10 years old. My mom worked all night, and so I primarily was with my dad, because went to school. He had me in the evening because she had to go to work.
No wonder they can't play basketball.
You've got a sense of humor like your mother.
How's school today?
Can I give you a hand?
It was good. I made a 95 on my math test.
That's great, baby. I need a mathematician.
Hi, fellas.
It's time to go to bed. Got school tomorrow.
Just a little longer, please.
Okay. Don't tell your mother. Sound like a secret.
No, only my hair is bleached.
Mrs. Garrett, why don't you take the boys' things up to their room and I'll show them around.
Be glad to. Here, let me have it, dear. Be careful, my...
So this of children is a global pandemic. It happens way too often, especially in America. And what we know about studies on prostituted people, whether they're there by force or circumstance, that the overwhelming majority of them were as small children. I mean, some studies show between 95 to 97%. And so what that tells us is that children that get abused, especially in a way, it dramatically affects, their adulthood and what happens to them later in life.
And I just remember he just abruptly turned around and slid his hands into the back of my pants and started rubbing my vaginal area. I stopped breathing. I just remember, like, I didn't breathe. I didn't look at him. I didn't know what to think. I thought, well, maybe he's asleep and dreaming and thinking that I'm my mother, because I'm like, surely he's not just touching on me. I didn't know, because I'm 9 at this point. I don't know what's going on. And I love my dad, so I'm not gonna move. I'm not gonna do anything to make him upset. And so he does that probably for, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. He stops and says nothing, continues on watching TV. I continue on watching TV as if something happened, but no one's going to speak on it. Our rooms were like diagonally across from each other in this apartment. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. And I heard moaning and groaning real loud. And I'm 9, I'm curious. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And so I peek around the corner into his room, and I actually still remember the movies to this day. He's listening to pornography, and it's real loud. And so he heard me walking in the hallway, being nosy. And he immediately said, Sophia, because they kind of say, look, Sophia, come in here for a minute. And he looks at me and he says, see, this is how people love on each other. This is how I love your mom. This is how you would love on the man that you're going to be with. And he said, come on, get in the bed with me and watch with me.
Good morning, baby.
Good morning, Daddy.
Listen, about last night. Let's keep that our little secret between us, okay? Don't tell your mother. She'll get jealous. Sometimes that's how daddies and little girls express love sometimes. Okay?
Victims can come from a variety of places. Oftentimes it's poverty, homelessness, drug addicted parents, but that's not always true. I mean, for myself, I'm the youngest of 6 kids. I grew up going to church, not your typical victim. And it just goes to show it can happen to anyone. I mean, typically, even if a person does have a good family and they were raised right, whatever that means, quote unquote, there's still often vulnerabilities present. Maybe they got at 14, or maybe they started rebelling and they didn't have a safe environment at home to talk about it, and so then they started going and trusting their friends over their family instead. And so, I mean, honestly, it could happen to anyone.
It's amazing that I can talk about a man that literally me on a nightly basis for 2 years of my life. But when he died, and I'll get into how he died, which is even more tragic in the essence of all of this, because he was doing this, he would have been 36, 37 as I was 9 through 11. But when he died, I was absolutely devastated. Primarily because, again, as I mentioned, didn't really go to church, didn't understand moral compass. We were a very isolated family, so there wasn't any other family around. So I knew something was wrong about what was happening, but I didn't know what. They didn't have advocacy groups back then. There weren't banners and billboards and things for you to really truly understand what was happening to you. And again, it won the affection of my father. So I actually liked that we had something, even though it didn't feel right and I didn't know exactly what it was. But there came a point where my mother and my father split. My father was staying in a motel on Maple Street in Springfield, and me and my mother and my younger brother, because they ended up reconciling a little bit, and I had a younger brother, ended up moving into a shelter in Holyoke, which I didn't realize it was a shelter at the time, but it was a shelter apartment that they give you. And my mother did not want me around my dad, and I couldn't understand why. And it was because I found out later that he decided to give up drugs. He was on crack really bad. Him and my mother were on crack real bad. And he decided to leave the drugs alone, and he wanted to give his life to Christ. He was going to Daniel's New Bethel Church of God in Christ, and he reached out to my older brother that he has a child with, Denise Stewart, reached out to her and wanted to get clean, and left my mom because my mom didn't want to get clean. And so I remember he finally got the chance after months to have me over to his apartment. And I picked up my girlfriend, Jennifer, And we spent the night at his apartment. And I just remember, like, I was just so glad to see him. And he was crying in the hotel room saying, like, I love you. I love your younger brother. I just want to be around you guys. I just want you to come to church with me. He was so adamant he wanted me to come to church with him. And the next morning, you know, when he had to drop me and my friend back off at our shelter that we was at in Holyoke, I remember we got to the apartment and I'm sitting in the room and doing her hair, and he took my mom to the store and dropped her off and came back and he said, Sophie, I love you. I'll see you next week. And I just remember a few hours later, my grandmother, his mother, called on that white old school phone on the wall. I picked it up and I was like, hey, Nana. And she immediately said, your father's dead. And then I get the details that on his way after dropping me, he had a withdrawal seizure behind the wheel since he had given up drugs and alcohol that caused him to go over a curb off the highway. And he went into Mobile Pride gas station, had just filled the gas tanks with 12,000 gallons of gasoline. In his car, exploded, and he burned to death at 39 years old. And I get emotional when I talk about his death, because even though what he did to me was horrific for 2 years, my life after his death was worse.
Ashley. You act like you don't even care.
He's dead. What do you want me to do?
I'm gonna miss him.
We're still here. And we gotta do whatever we gotta do to survive. And you gotta grow up.
But his death set a trajectory of despair for my mother.
Ashley, get in here, girl. I need you to go on down to the house for me.
Who is Earl?
He a friend of mine. Why do you ask so many damn questions? You live on Hillcrest Street. 265. Tell him I need to borrow $20.
I don't want to ask nobody for some money.
Did nobody ask you what you want? You want to eat, don't you? Go get that money. Don't come back here without no money. I don't care what you gotta do.
Who is it? The hell you want?
My mother told me to come get $20 from you.
Who's your mama?
Eva, from Barrow Road.
Eva? She always begging for something. Now she done sent your narrow ass down here asking.
She said if I don't have the money, I can't come back home.
Is that right? Come on in. What you gonna do for this hot 20?
$20? That's all he gave you. Cheap ass. I'll be back. Watch your brother.
Nobody thinks that a pimp can be their mother. And the whole time I've developed a whole nother personality because Sophia, the little girl, could not handle that. So then Rochelle became the one that whenever I had to go and make sure my family, at this point, I have 2 younger brothers, and then my mother and me to get fed, she gonna handle that. I now really bring on a new identity of currency. I live in a world where until I was 36 years old, I was nothing more than currency.
So with familial trafficking, you have most often a drug-addicted parent that is willing to put their child in harm's way for their own gain. And obviously that parent has a lot of mental health issues, most likely, and addiction issues that they're dealing with. But what they're actually doing by their actions is they are exploiting their own child, allowing people to come into their house and do things with a child that child shouldn't ever have to have had happen in order for them to be able to profit from it, for them to either get money to buy drugs most often, or, you know, in exchange for drugs. One thing about human trafficking is that money doesn't always have to change hands. It can be for anything of value.
Hey, baby. You just gonna walk in here and not speak to company? It's Philip. You my friend.
Hi.
Come sit with us, baby.
I gotta do my homework.
Hey, little lady.
Where's my mom?
She went to the store. She said I can come by and say hi when she gone.
I have homework to do.
Maybe I can help you with your homework. Your mom said it was cool.
Get off me.
Hey, your mom owe me some money. So she said you're going to pay up, so pay up.
One of the men that were selling drugs to my mother, I became pregnant by him at 14. But that was the beginning of a rebellion in me that led to very violent interactions between my mom, but that really started the trend. And then right after that, that's when I found out she was on drugs, was through somebody.
I can't take this no more, Ebony. I gotta get out of here.
Why you want to go to your grandma's house?
I can't leave my little brother here in all this mess.
You know your mama's on that shit, right?
What shit?
Crap. Where you been? You been ignoring the signs? Like Stevie Wonder would have seen that shit.
I remember just feeling like I'm so dumb. Like, how did I not know?
Nana, if you don't come get me, I'll either be a prostitute, dead, or I'm gonna kill my mother. I'm gonna kill you.
The only two avenues for my life at this point is being a prostitute or being dead, because I'm gonna kill her and then I'm gonna kill myself. I remember going back to my mother's house because I needed to get my stuff.
Are you serious? Jamal is in the other room and you gonna smoke that shit in here?
I done told you about being in grown folk business.
You a piece of work.
Earl asked about you. You need to go on back down there and get you some more money. You know food ain't free.
And I just remember seeing black. And I, at that point, choked her into the couch. And I was choking the life out of her. Her eyes were rolling to the back of her head. My girlfriends just happened to hear the commotion. I see my baby brother's like, no, Soph, you gonna kill her. My girlfriends come in, nah, she ain't even worth that. And I just remember saying, she is worth me killing her right now. She worth that. And I had about $100 rolled up in my suspenders. And I remember her just, you ain't gonna be shit. You ain't shit. You always gonna be a hoe. You always gonna be. Grabbed the money out my suspenders, and my girls just kind of drug me out. And I'm in the car and I'm just crying profusely because I knew then I'd never come back. The next few years after that, though, it was just all about who am I and what am I supposed to do? The trafficked life is a lifelong journey. You're never truly wholly healed from it. You become to be in a healthy place where you can tell that story, where you can talk about it, where I can share my truth like I am today. And I'm not ashamed of what happened. It still hurts. Still obviously wish that I had more of that cookie cutter childhood, but that just wasn't my reality. Still trying to find for that place of how I can be seen beyond the past of my past, how I can see myself beyond that past and have someone to love who I am today and appreciate that pain that I've come from.